Hi my salty pecans, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Pamela, and on today's video I'm going to be sharing with you all 10 house plants that are perfect to grow to have in your office workspace. So if you're interested in the 10 plants I am going to be mentioning, then keep on watching. So welcome back everybody. Now that the world is opening up more slowly but surely, okay, that also means office spaces are allowing their workers to come back, and the thought of remote work for many is going to be a memory long gone, something that has been in the past, something that it's like, wow, I can't believe we once had that luxury of teleworking, working from home. Yeah, so that is starting to become a thing of the past for many. I know it may be a little tough to leave your plant sanctuary, your at-home plant jungle, but it's okay. We are going to do our best to try to deal with the times. You know, we're human. We're gonna, try to form and mold to the best of our ability. And the best way for me, in my opinion, is to actually bring a bit of your home to work. And what I like to do is actually have plants at work. I have plants, house plants, at my desk at the office. I personally, my job, I work in a city building, and it's a building with a lack of windows, and especially for me where I'm at, I do not have any windows near my desk, so I have to use fluorescent lighting. So for me, during the entire pandemic, I have been, working, commuting from home to work. But don't forget about your recently discovered love and hobby of plants. Now that you're more confident, and this notion of I can't keep plants alive, I kill plants, I don't know how to take care of house plants, literally that used to be the story for every single person once upon a time, and then the pandemic hit, 2020 came, and boom, everyone is a plant parent, everyone has a indoor plant jungle. So I know you're all so much more confident with your plant care. Now let's take these plants from our homes and bring a few of them into the office with us. Here are 10 house plants that work perfect in the office workspace environment. Before I mention plants, I just want to talk about the number one most important, crucial thing in regards to bringing outdoor house plants into a closed-in office environment. That is figuring out your lighting. So the first thing to know is like, okay, at my office, at my job, what sort of light source do I have? Do I have access to some windows, or is it just fluorescent lighting, under the desk sort of lighting, or is it sort of ceiling above the head sort of light? Figuring out your light source is going to be the number one thing in my opinion, because even though these plants I'm going to be mentioning are good for office and low light spaces, plants are plants, and in nature they do need light to grow. Nothing can grow in complete darkness, so keep that in mind. You need a light source, whether that will be the light at your desk, the light above the desk, or a window light. Now let's get into the plants. The first house plant that works perfect for office workspaces is definitely the snake plant, the Dracaena, aka Sansevieria. The snake plant, in my opinion, does really well in office environments. I have one actually in my office space, and it does so well. That particular plant for me gets above, the ceiling sort of light. It doesn't get any desk extra fluorescent lighting. It only gets whatever is around it, at the office. Snake plants, as we all know, is really good for air purification, and they multiply like fly gnats. Literally, this plant just grows. I've propagated this plant. I've shared this plant with a few of my coworkers. So snake plants are the first house plant that work really well in the office work environment. The next plant, of course, I bet I wouldn't be me if I didn't mention this plant, and that definitely is the devil's ivy, aka golden pothos. I love the Epiprinum pinnatum. The golden pothos works in any environment. It's like a fail-proof plant. You can't go wrong with a golden pothos. The golden pothos is actually my first work plant. I brought this in literally like the first or the second day at my job. I brought this plant with me, and since then it's grown drastically. It's so beautiful, it's so luscious, it's so green. I love it so much. So again, the golden pothos is the next house plant that you can actually bring with you into the office. Yes, peace lily is the next plant that works really well for the office environment. These plants, if you keep them near like a fluorescent sort of light, they do really well. And peace lilies, care wise, if you find that you've been having issues with yours, peace lilies like to stay moist. They like to remain moist. So if you're able to keep it relatively moist or even keep it in water, then you'll find success growing peace lilies in the office. Scindapsus pictus exotica. Yes, I love these Scindapsus pictus exotica. I also have one in the office at my desk. I find that this plant does really well under the fluorescent desk light that I have, and for me the plant has grown so much that I add some chopsticks as a trellis, as some sort of support for the plant to continue to grow and have larger, bushier, fuller leaves. I've also propagated this plant a few times at the office. I've also shared that plant a few times at the office to different co-workers, because you can see the foliage is just so stunning. It's just so silvery. So the Scindapsus pictus exotica is the next house plant that does really well in the office work environment. Crotons. Who would have thought I would say crotons is the next plant? No one would have ever thought, because I personally don't like crotons. They do not do well for me at home. But one of my coworkers, she actually does have a croton. Well, she has 2 crotons, and I'm like, girl, them mofos is ugly AF. And she was just like, oh, I love it so much. And I'm like, okay. I find her crotons do really well by the window, so she keeps it moist, because crotons are little a-holes. They're little buns. Okay, but crotons, again, they do really well in the office environment. They're not super needy. If you just leave them alone and let them be, then they just do whatever they want to do. The next plant, believe it or not, is the Diaphonebachia. As you can see, this is still my gigantic Diaphonebachia. Diaphonebachia, I find, are plants that do really well in so many different sorts of lights. So my Diaphonebachia gets a mix of natural sunlight, full day, and a bit of just like random light from a grow light that's near the source of the plant. And that plant has been doing great when it was by the window, when it was away from the grow light, when it was under the grow light. It just does really well. I also find this plant, one of my other coworkers, she also owns a Diaphonebachia, and that Diaphonebachia looks so great in her office. And originally her desk was away from a window, and now her desk is closer to a window, and it is thriving. When it was away from the window, it was thriving via that, you know, that fluorescent light, and it is doing even better now that it has source to natural light. So Diaphonebachia, fail-proof plant, does really well in the office space environment. Cactus, yes, cactus actually do really well in office spaces. Office spaces, I find, have very fluctuating sort of temperature. My office gets cold at time and it's really hot at time, and cactus are just plants that, you know, you just leave them be. You leave them, you water them maybe like once every other month, once a month, however way you find your watering schedule is. They do really well under the light. Again, cactus though, in my opinion, if you do have some sort of natural light, it'll do even better than that. But if you can just keep it under your desk, get that full inflorescent light throughout the day, then cactus will do really well in the office work environment. Chinese evergreen, aka Aglionimas. Chinese evergreens, similar to Diaphonebachia, I find are such easygoing plants. You just let them be. They don't need a lot of light. If you want to give them a lot of light, they'll be happy with it. They'll grow bushier and faster. But if you don't, then, you know, they kind of just take their time and they live. They don't bother you, they don't ask for too much, and they do really well with that inflorescent sort of light. So we are narrowing down the list. Plant number 7 is actually the Cocazemifolia, aka ZZ plant. ZZ plants are plants that have been very recommended for low light spaces. Work offices do not have such a high light sort of source. ZZ plants also don't require a whole bunch of watering. They're pretty easygoing plants, and that is something that you need for the office. So ZZ plant is number 7. Philodendrons. If I mention Pothos, I'm definitely going to have to mention Philodendron. The only thing with Philodendron is, of course, the brighter light you give it, the bigger, the larger, the more luscious those heart-shaped leaves are going to be. But when I mention Philodendron, not every Philodendron will be good for that environment. There are Philodendrons who prefer a better, brighter light, but then there are other Philodendrons like the Scadens, the green old heart-leaf Philodendron, does really well in office or low light sort of environments. The last plant definitely has to be the bamboo, the lucky bamboo. You see bamboo everywhere. When I go into like the 99-cent stores, there's always a bamboo near the cashier. It's not near a window. It's like getting that inflorescent sort of lighting, that indoor light. Bamboos do really well inside of office workspaces, and they also are like known to give good luck, financial luck. So keep yourself a bamboo. That is the last plant that I am going to be mentioning. Like I mentioned, the snake plant, the pothos, the peace lily, the Scindapsus pictus exotica, Crotons, Diaphonebachia, cactus, Chinese evergreens aka Aglionimas, ZZs, philos, and lucky number 11 is bamboo. So those are the 11 plants that I'm going to be mentioning. Of course, mentioning 11 is like such a good number, right? New beginning sort of number. And going back to the office is essentially a new beginning for many of us who are used to working at home for the past year and a half, you know, having the luxury of working remote. But now it's a new beginning, a new transition, a new way of life. So 11 plants that do really well in the office workspace environment. Again, like I mentioned, the number one thing you need to be conscious about is your light source. What sort of light does your office space have? Do you have access to outdoor natural light? Do you have access to only above the head sort of light? Or do you also have access to, you know, desk sort of lamps? Or do you have, you know, inflorescent light bulbs near you at your desk? So figuring that out can then help you decide, okay, where am I going to place my plant? Because plants essentially at the end of the day all need some sort of light source. No plant can survive in complete darkness. If you have some house plants that do really well in the office that I did not mention out of the 11, then let me know in the comment section below. I'm always on the lookout for some new plants to bring to the office. They're always like, oh, be careful about plants limited office policy, and I'm just like, you're just mad because your oxygen level is not the best. Okay. So with that being said, thank you so much, my salty pecans, for watching this video. If you liked it, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up and sharing. Subscribe if you aren't already. Join this little cookie family because we're pretty awesome here. Become a salty pecan, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. Also follow me on my other social medias: Instagram at HauzPlant, Twitter HauzPlant, TikTok HauzPlant, and yep, I will see you on the next one. Let's get growing. Bye.